Well, Mary, thank you very much for opening up your office to us and your yard and everything else. Eric, thank you for a very kind introduction. Charlotte, as always, you did a great job. And thank you to all you who have come out to take time out of your day today. We very much appreciate it. Very much appreciate you being willing to take time to come meet with us and talk a little bit about politics here in Iowa. It's getting to be a very important time of year, ladies and gentlemen. This Tuesday election is going to be an extremely important event in the state, and we need to make sure we get everybody out to vote and everybody out to get all their friends and neighbors out to vote. But before I say more about that, I want to tell you a little bit about my background, a little more than what Charlotte or Eric had to say. You know, as Charlotte was saying, we've spent the last 30 years not just working in Iowa, but also very actively involved in our community. And for me, that's the entire state. When I was on the Planned Parenthood board in the 80s, we had Planned Parenthood offices all across the state. Trying to eliminate the feedback. And then, you know, I served on 3 different college boards all across the state, trying to help improve the access to good quality education, higher education for kids all across our state. We both worked for Broadlines, trying to help them expand mental health services, which they did, which is all about leadership. You see an issue, you get asked to get involved, you get other people involved, you go to work, you build a coalition, and you get results. That's what we need in our governor's office, somebody who's willing to build coalitions with whoever wants to get involved moving forward to make progress for Iowans. Because that's not what we're getting. And we have also worked a lot on the air and water quality issues all around our state. So back in 2009, we were involved helping to put together the actual language for the Natural Outdoor Resources Trust Fund that was on the ballot for the constitutional amendment in 2010. I just wish we'd gotten some legislative support to actually fund that sales tax so we could have that constitutionally protected fund for our water quality. But we're going to work on that hard, as Charlotte said, over the next couple of years if we're given a chance. But you know, ever since we've been working on those priorities in the last 2 years, this governor with their fiscal mismanagement and the legislative Republicans with their misguided priorities have just been dismantling all the progress that Governor Culver and Governor Vilsack had created for our state, undermining those progressive values all over Iowa. For me, the tipping point to decide to actually run for governor was at the end of the last legislative session. You all recall that, after they'd done all those really harmful things to our state, to the people of our state, healthcare, education, workers' rights, you name it, and they attacked it. And Governor Reynolds said, you know, that was the best legislative session ever. And she said it many times. And Charlotte and I looked at each other and we realized right away that was the worst legislative session we'd ever seen. And I don't know how you can sit there and go through all that stuff. And then this year was even worse again.
This year was worse.
Yeah. So we need to change this, ladies and gentlemen. We need to change this trajectory, or we're going to be called Kansas of the North. And that's not what we want to be. We don't want to be there. So we need a governor who actually wants to do, I think, 3 important things. The first is we need Iowa to be known as a state all across the country as a state that has very good health care for its citizens, including mental health and substance abuse services. And not as the state that defunded Planned Parenthood and passed the most restrictive, most extreme anti-women's health care law in our country. That's not the direction we want to go. Secondly, we want to make sure that Iowa is known as the state that can attract the jobs and the people of the future because we have clean water, good quality of life, and a highly educated, well-trained, productive workforce, not just a lot of big tax credits. And we also need to make sure that Iowa is known again, like we used to be, as a state that has one of the best educational systems in our country. We all know we used to be number 1 or number 2 in education, and we're not the same as we used to be at this point. And instead, now we're known as the state that stripped collective bargaining rights from our teachers, and that's not the right direction. We need to restore Chapter 20 for our state workers. We need to restore collective bargaining for our teachers and give working families the opportunity to reach their potential and support our state in those important professions. So we need to have a governor that has the leadership skills and the experience to actually produce a balanced budget with those values and those priorities. And as Eric said, for me, that starts with putting people first in the budget and in your priorities. Not just in the priorities, you have to put in the budget also, or it's not really a priority. So what we're going to do is we're going to pass a budget that stops those wasteful annual corporate giveaways and instead takes that money and invests it. That's $160 million every single year. And instead we should invest that in education and healthcare and infrastructure all across our state, so we can actually get communities like Clinton and many others like this all across Iowa, creating more opportunities for people as well as those communities. And just to be clear, when I'm talking about infrastructure, it's not just roads and bridges, it's also high-speed internet and housing, because we need more of those every part of our state. And I know that if we're willing as a state and as citizens to come together and work together and fund our people and fund our communities with those kind of investments for the long term, we can get Iowa growing the right way and turn this state around and make it work better for everybody. But it all starts on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday. Between now and then, if you haven't already voted, I encourage all of you to vote. I encourage you all to go out, as Eric was saying, talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, get on the phones, and knock on doors, and try to get as many people out to vote for Democrats as possible, and hopefully a large percentage of them to vote for Hubbell for governor. We need to win this primary, and we need to do it in a way that we don't have to have a convention, so we can be unified behind one candidate and get started taking on Governor Reynolds beginning Wednesday morning. So again, thank you for all of you for being here. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Eric. And thank everybody for taking your time to be here. I'll be around. We're not going anywhere for a while, so I'll come around and talk to you. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Thanks again for your support and being here.